All right, boys and girls, today we're gonna draw some cupcakes. So I'm gonna make 4 cupcakes, and so that way we can show a variety of different ways to make them. Now you can make your cupcakes all the same, or you can make them a little different. And if you don't like the way I draw them and you wanna draw them your own way, of course that's fine too. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna divide my paper into 4 squares or rectangles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure, or I can guesstimate using my eyes and my finger, and I'm gonna draw a line right down the middle of the page, going up to down, and going side to side. So I'm gonna divide my paper into 4 pieces. So this can be done in your sketchbook if you have room, or you can use a blank piece of paper. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw the cupcake or the cake part of the cupcake, so the bottom of it. And I'm gonna put that near the bottom of each square. So I'm gonna pretend each square is its own little picture. So I'm gonna end up with 4 pictures of my cupcake. So I'm gonna start on the left and work my way over and to the bottom. So I'm gonna start with the top left corner because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, maybe you'll start on that side. So now I'm gonna draw my cupcake, and maybe I'll zoom in so you guys can really see me draw my cupcake. There we go. You can already see my underdrawing already. So I'm pretending this is my little page, and I'm gonna draw 2 lines that go at a slight diagonal, and they're near the bottom line. So there's my line right here, and there's my 2 diagonal lines. They're evenly spaced. And then I'm gonna attach those with a curved line. This is what's gonna give our cupcake its 3D look, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna do that on all 4 of my squares. So they're all gonna look identical at first. So let me zoom out again, and let me do it again, this time in each little rectangle. All right, so now I have them all identical. And now I'm gonna start to add my horizon line. The horizon line in a still life, because we're making a still life. I know that's a lot of information at once, but did you know that a picture of an object is a still life, and our object is a cupcake? And the horizon line separates, in a still life, it separates the table from the wall. So I'm gonna go ahead about halfway down each line. I'm gonna draw a line side to side, and I want it to be the same on both sides. And look, I'm just gonna continue it on my other cupcake. Now, if you wanna make them different heights, that's cool too, but I'm just gonna go ahead and make them the same. This is what's gonna make our cupcake look like it's anchored down, like it's way down, instead of floating around in space. All right, so now I'm gonna start to add my icing. So when I draw icing, I think of a shape, and the shape of icing is sort of like a triangle. Now, it doesn't look like a triangle like a real one with sharp corners and straight edges. It's more of like a rounded triangle. So it's gonna be wider at the bottom, and it's gonna get a little bit smaller as you go up to the top, just like our triangle does, but ours is gonna be a little bit more rounded because it's icing. So I'm gonna teach you some tricks on how to make your icing look fantastic. So I'm gonna start with the easiest, and then I'm gonna get a little bit more challenging. And now you can draw your icing any way you like, and if you find my challenging ways too challenging, you can always just make them all the same. All right, so I'm gonna start with the bottom corner and do the easiest icing that I can. and that is with a big cloud shape. So to make a cloud shape, I start with the letter C. What sound does the letter C make? And then I make a whole bunch of C's going around and connecting them. And I like to make them different sizes, big and small. And I go all the way around. So I'm building that shape. Just like that. Going around and around. So there's my little icing shape. Now, because we wanted to have a focal point, that focal point means something that our eye is going to be drawn to, we're going to add a cherry on top. Now, if you want to change that into any shape you want, of course, like a star or heart or diamond, but I'm going to go with cherries. So I'm going to draw a big circle at the top of my cupcake. And of course, the cherry is going to have a stem, so I'm going to draw a curved line and make it a little bit thicker on one end, just like that. So now I have my cupcake almost done. All I have left is details. Okay, so let's work on our second cupcake. This one's a little bit more challenging, but still not too hard as the other ones. So again, I'm gonna think about a triangle, so it's gonna be really wide at the bottom, and it's gonna get a little bit smaller at the top. So this time I'm gonna it's gonna look like a bell. So I'm gonna start near the top, and I'm gonna make kind of like an arch or a rainbow. And then I'm gonna go out past the cupcake and make like little J's on each side. And then I'm gonna do a wavy line at the bottom. So it's like my icing is kind of dripping down a little bit, just like that. And of course, I add my cherry and stem. And then I can erase where my lines overlap. Just like that. All right, so I have 2 cupcakes almost done, just a few more details, and I'll do that with my marker when I'm ready to outline. All right, so now we're gonna get more challenging. Now, of course, the more challenging they are, the more intricate and more detailed they'll look. So now I'm gonna start with my light lines. It's important that you start with light because that way you can erase, and it's easy for you to make it look realistic. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna draw like 2 parts of my icing. So I'm gonna start with the bottom part, and it's gonna kind of overlap the top of my cupcake. So I make an oval, and then I go up almost to the top, and I go down just a little bit, and I draw a second oval, this time a little bit smaller, just like that. Now the part that I'm going to erase is, I'm going to erase anything that's in this small circle. So I'm going to go ahead and erase part of that bigger oval, just like that. So there's my 2 tiered cupcake icing. And then to add a third and final touch, of course, I add my cherry. Okay, and because my cherry is the focus, it's also gonna have that line erased too. So now I have 3 different cupcakes, and now the 4th one. All right, so this one's the most challenging. So the first thing I gotta do is, this time the icing's gonna be inside the cup. Everywhere else the icing kind of pours out. So a cupcake wrapper has that zigzag line. So that's what I'm gonna start with, is my zigzag line to connect the other ones. Now I'm gonna draw a curved line to connect the 2 sides together, just like that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the previous one. So I'm gonna add an oval, a smaller one than the top of the cupcake, and of course the smallest one on top. All right, now the tricky part is the erasing. You're like, what part do I erase? So I first start with the bottom of this oval. I'm gonna erase the top of the cupcake because it's gonna be under that icing. And then the same with this one. So rule of thumb is you're just erasing the bottom lines. Just like that. That's why it's challenging. It's not challenging drawing. It's a challenge to figure out what part to erase. And then my cherry on top. All right, so now I have my 4 cupcakes drawn. And now I'm going to outline. So you guys know how to outline, so I'm not gonna bore you with telling you how to do it. I'll see you when it's all outlined. All right, boys and girls, so I have my cupcakes all outlined. I tried something different today, and I varied the thickness of my lines. I used a thin marker for the inside and a thick one for the outside. You know, I thought I would try something different, give it more of a cartoony look, but you know, I'm not sure if I like it yet. We'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and add some more details. So before I add the decorations on top, I'm gonna give each little cherry a little highlight. Boys and girls, there's my yummy cupcakes. I think I'm missing one more detail, a little bit of shadow. So this is what's really gonna make it look 3D. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw a little curve line on the sides of each one using a dark color like black or gray. And I'm gonna do one on each of my cupcakes, all on the same side, so it casts a little bit of a shadow. So just a little curve line, just to add a little shadow, little shading, makes it look real 3D, and finishes it off. Perfect. All right, boys and girls, hope you had fun. See you later.